So today we're going to be looking at the kneeling Swiss ball plank. Why would we do this exercise? What are the main benefits over the kneeling on the floor plank, and when would you use it in a workout? So first thing, what we've got to look at here is that in any compound movement where we're looking to either hip hinge, or be it a deadlift or a squat, we want to reinforce a pelvic position where we can keep the pelvis in a aligned position to the rib cage. So we want to maintain, if we were going through a line through the sternum and an imaginary line through the pelvis, it's going to be parallel at most times, throughout the entirety of a compound movement. Now what happens with people is when we get an open scissors movement, so that line is now going from this region to here, so we think about the belly button dropping down, we then get compression in the lower back, which can cause irritation, some of the muscles fire up and whatnot, and then we get lower back pain because of impingements on the nerves. That's a possibility. So really what we're looking to do is do exercises that reinforce that position, which is why the planks can be good as an introduction to the movement, so you kind of get an idea of what it feels like, which is what we're looking to achieve. Now with the ball, we have a little bit of dynamic movement going on, which means that we can play around with positions to find areas where we have weakness, but also change and make it more challenging or easier depending on how we're feeling. So what we want to do here is we've got hands on a Swiss ball, and we're going to slowly bring it back towards us and go into this kneeling position like so. Now whilst I'm in this position here, I want to think about tucking my hips towards me. So I want to think I'm pulling the belly button up towards the rib cage and aligning this and creating space here. Now for myself, I do have an anterior tilted pelvis, so I do have, from a history of lifting poorly, tight lower back muscles around here. So I really want to focus on bringing my belly button and scooping it up towards my sternum. So I'm closing the gap here and I'm increasing the space around here, especially in this lower back. My elbows are on the ball, which means I can push the ball forward, making this a more challenging exercise, or I can bring the elbows back, making it easier for myself. Now, whilst I'm in this position, now you see a rounding of the shoulders. What this is essentially doing is I'm trying to get my shoulders back into my back pockets as much as I can. So I'm trying to get them away from my neck in this position so I don't override this T-spine junction and then find it going through my neck. I want to try and isolate the core as much as I can. I'm now just going to be breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. And as you can see, I'm pushing my elbows forward, and this is getting this little tremor here, which is making this a challenging exercise for me. Now what I would do is use this at the beginning of a workout simply to stimulate that core musculature, so you're sending a signal to the brain to know how to get it to tighten around the spine to increase that core rigidity. What I would do is use this for anywhere between 3 to 5 breaths in with some other dynamic movements, teaching the limbs how to move with a stable pelvis, and then I would go back to this movement at the end of this workout to work on more endurance, where I might try and do 8 to 10 breaths. Again, we're coming away from that duration, like that arbitrary movement, 30 to 60 seconds, and we're thinking about purposeful controlled breaths, inhaling in through the nose, exhaling forcefully through pursed lips. And as you can see, I can play around with the elbow position, going forward and back slightly. It's increasing the difficulty, but at no point, if we watch the video just for the next few seconds, at no point do we see a change in lumbar position or a dip in the lower back, which is going to irritate that lower back muscles. Feeling this movement all through the core and all through the abdominal musculature around here. Now, a question you might be thinking is, why do I not just do this with my feet here? Well, if you think about the distance, the point of contact from the floor here and the floor here, this means that the center of mass is going to be around this region like so, which isn't too bad, because then we can play around with our positioning in order to really force the intention and making this difficult for this core region. If we have our feet up, this then makes those distance further away from each other, obviously, which is going to make this a more challenging exercise. But for a lot of people who do this, if we're just trying to stimulate the feeling of core rigidity, this might be too challenging itself, and you may end up irritating your lower back before you've done any lifting whatsoever. So this is the safest option, which allows you to create that core stiffness which we want for any type of hinge and squat pattern.